Out of my 33 years, I spent the first 10 and a half or so as a custodian, from just a regular frontline custodian all the way up to a head custodian or facility manager, whatever kind of terminology you want to use for that. And then from there, I became an administrator.
Talking clean in a dirty world. Talking clean in a dirty world. Dirty, 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 dirty world. Talking clean in a dirty world.
Well, folks, we're back for another episode of Talking Clean in a Dirty World. And as you can see, hey, Bobby, we've kind of lost some of our people here today. And I had to wear the Hawaiian shirt today in honor of Don Tracy on vacation.
Yeah, he's on one of those again. Cruise, I mean.
Now, if Don was here, he'd be saying something. But, I think he's out there probably cruising somewhere. Do you know where he's cruising today?
I have no idea.
Oh, well.
Out in the water somewhere.
Out in the water somewhere. And Javier, that you usually see on our feed, folks, here at Talking Clean and Dirty World, he's probably cleaning somewhere in that dirty world over in Tampa Bay. We're recording on a Friday, which we normally don't do. But you know what? We've got a special guest with us here, and you might have heard about him. If you've heard about our Rock Star cleaning program, well, he's kind of the one that started all of that. Bobby, we've been doing this for several years, been able to nominate some people. It's been a great thing. I think we were talking about doing this with another organization here pretty soon.
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about, but I was going to say, you said he kind of started it. I'm pretty sure he did start it. I would correct it.
Okay. So maybe rather than us talking about it without him here, let's get Mike Ward to step in here. He happens to be in the studio, which is not normally something we have here. So welcome to the show, Mike.
Thanks, Dave. Good to see you.
Good to be seen, as they say, right?
Yeah. Yep. I'm on vacation. And my favorite vacation place is Florida. So it works out for me and Dave to get together whenever I'm in town.
So let's kind of start the show here a little bit and kind of tell people why we were mentioning the Rockstar program, what started, and what are you doing these days?
So maybe can I jump in? Can Mike?
Yeah.
Maybe people don't know who Mike is, so maybe Mike could tell us a little bit about himself.
So I'm an old bird that's been doing this. I'm in my 33rd year in public education, working in schools. Out of my 33 years, I spent the first 10 and a half or so as a custodian, from just a regular frontline custodian all the way up to a head custodian or facility manager, whatever kind of terminology you want to use for that. And then from there, I became an administrator, ran custodial and maintenance departments for 23 years. And, I told my wife, I'm working on another book. I've written, the biggest book I think I've written is Who Swings Your Mop? I call it the Dr. Phil book for custodians. It teaches them things that beyond cleaning about how to be successful. And so I'm working on a book now because I told my wife, the Who Swings Your Mop, I think is a great book, but I don't really tell them how to be successful, how to be really organized, and really how to be that rock star head custodian, using different techniques of organization and communication and various forms and various ways of talking to principals and supervisors, and how to inform your staff and those types of things. So I told her, I said, you know what, I just got a little bit more time to go, and I think I can write a better book if I actually, instead of going off of things I did 23 years ago, actually going back in there, being a frontline worker for a little while, and then being a head custodian for a little while as I'm writing the book. So people don't have this perception, well, yeah, you did this 20-some years ago. You've been an administrator for so many years. You don't know what shoes we walk in. And I'll tell you, Bobby, the thing I discovered, and I told Dave this yesterday, is there's only two things different that I discovered. And that is, the technology is so much better now, or so much more used than it was back then. Back when I was a custodian before, I remember filling out a work order on a 3-part piece of paper, and you'd have to, rip the bottom piece and keep for your receipts and all that stuff. And now, everything's done on the computer with, various programs like FMX and School Dude and things like that. So that's gotten different. And then the equipment. I remember, for whatever reason, to this day, I can't remember, but my first week as a custodian, I don't know, to this day, I don't know how I did it, but I was mopping a big long hallway, and I knocked over the mop bucket. And I mean, the water just went everywhere. So I was hand mopping it. There was no auto scrubber. I couldn't go get an auto scrubber. So, you know, the auto scrubbers started coming in, the carpet machines and the Kyvacs and all the different things. And it's just so much better. So those are the two differences. And so for me, you know, when I got in there, I happened to get into a school that was in desperate need of some TLC. It is a school that is, it's not very old. It's about 15, 16 years old, but I'm going to share some pictures with you of how you can really let a building go if you don't care. And so I was telling Dave this again yesterday, you know, there's two parts to being a rock star. It's having those traits of, you know, service before self and things like that. But you also got to back that up with a clean building. You can't do a half job and get be a rock star, in my opinion. So I was really shocked when I really started digging into this school. I remember the first couple of days I was there, I made an art teacher actually almost start crying. He's like, I think I'm going to start crying. I can't believe you're washing that wall. That's never been done since I've been here, and I've been here since the building opened. And he was shocked that I was cleaning the windows to the entryway to the playground. And he's like, oh my gosh, we have been praying for this for years. And it kind of dumbfounded me. I'm like, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do, you know? And then I get angry because my whole purpose is to fight the stereotype of the stupid janitor or that creepy guy on the commercial, you know? And sometimes I feel like we bring it on ourselves. So when I share some of these slides with you, I mean, it's no wonder sometimes we get that. And then Dave and I talked before we went on air, you know, how much of this is your supervisor's not telling you how to do things or informing you or holding you accountable, and how much of this is, you know, just a lack of training. So,
well, it's interesting because the concept of going from the administrator to going, if I heard you right, to a frontline worker.
Yep.
And then back to a head custodian.
Yeah.
Up to a head custodian. And after 20 some years of being the administrator, I mean, that's got to be eye-opening. I mean, a lot of people can't do that, step back into what they started in. And when you see, oh, hey, these things, even though as an administrator, you might have thought these things were happening, they weren't really happening in real time when you get deep into it.
Absolutely. And a funny story, I was telling Dave this again yesterday. We talked a lot yesterday, but it was fun.
And the reason we talked, folks, is because we were at a conference and you know, for schools here in Florida, and, you know, we do a podcast, and, you know, we had some time, and then we were doing some classes. And so we had some time to catch up. And as you can imagine, the two of us being in cleaning for all this time, Bobby, it was like, you know, and can you tell there's a commonality between us? You get us to start talking and you can't get a word in edgewise.
Yeah. But anyway,
walk off the picture. That's good. Go ahead.
That's one way to shut him up. Well, maybe. But you know, it's funny. I was telling Dave yesterday, I was cleaning the cafeteria one day after lunch, and we unfortunately had a student or a recess aide grab a student. So for whatever reason, the principal decided to come into the cafeteria. Everybody was gone but me and her and then that recess aide. And she basically fired her right there in the cafeteria when I was cleaning. And then when the lady walked out and then the principal was there, I just looked at her and says, I don't miss that at all. I have no stress. I don't have to put up with none of that crap anymore. So it's been kind of different. But I feel like for me, I needed to practice what I preach. You know, 20 some years ago isn't practicing what you preach. So for me to write a really good book that really hits home, I felt like this is the right thing to do. So I just took a chance, and right now I'm pretty happy. It's the lowest stress I've had in 20 some years. So, but I don't know what I'll do in the future, but for the next year or so, I'm going to do this. And I've already started to turn the school around. They were amazed when they came back after the summer, things that, were not done, finally got done after years of never being done. So we're going to show some pictures here. Dave's going to get me going here. So here, I cleaned the kitchen. The kitchen ladies complained to me and said, oh, our kitchen's never cleaned right in the summer. I said, well, don't you worry, I'll take care of it. Well, what I started noticing is, oh my goodness, look at the floor drains. That's real stuff. And you know what's funny? I'll never forget it. I cleaned this on my birthday. I spent a whole day in this kitchen. It's not a very big kitchen. So I spent the whole day in there cleaning that kind of stuff, cleaned out the grout, sprayed it out, all that stuff. But I did it on May 31st. Then the fire inspectors came in a couple of weeks later and they accidentally tripped the Ansel hood and flooded the kitchen. Now I can tell you when I picked that stuff up and cleaned underneath, it was dry underneath, dry as a bone. Nothing could get through there. Now, had I not done that, that would have never got through there. It would have went out into the hallway and flooded a good portion of the school. So
the process to clean that, Mike, what did you do?
well, believe it or not, I had to actually pry those little cups that in the center of that one. That's a little cup that has little holes in it, so the liquid can get through in it. This one right here, yeah. And so yeah, I actually pried it out of there. Took a wire brush and scrubbed it, and I finally got it looking like new. I didn't put a picture of that, but yeah. And the kitchen ladies come back and they're like, they look down, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And so, yeah, and I mean, that's just one of the many things I did in that kitchen that had never been done. Then I start getting into the bathrooms, and I mean, that's real, folks. I mean, that's not made up. And you know what I did with that when I cleaned that, Bobby? I just got a little green scratchy pad and with a sponge on it and some Dawn dish soap and some water and scrubbed it off, and it came right off. Yeah. I mean, it's just, and the staff's like, after I did that the first week I was there, and they're like, we noticed a huge difference in the bathroom. Now we feel comfortable using the bathroom. And and as I'm doing these things, I'm just so angry. It's just like, why don't we give a crap? Is basically how I was feeling. And then bottoms of urinals. I mean, and then you wonder why things stink. So there's the bottom of the sink. And then that's the bottom of the actual, of course, the pipes, but then that other part there is just grime. They've never cleaned underneath the lip of the sink. And a Rock Star Custodian does that, and they keep up with that, you know, and that to me is the other half of being a Rock Star Custodian. I don't know if this is coming up, but I want to ask the question when we get to it. Is a lot of people, when you go to clean the gym, refinish the gym, if you ask people what's the first step, they immediately start talking about, well, get the tape up and get the gum up. Well, that's not the first step. The first step is to.
But before we go to the go to the gym,
I'm excited.
I know. You get going. But before we go to the gym, whenever you look at these pictures, folks, the one thing I wanted to point out is that if it's below our knees, or above our head in the bathroom, we don't do it.
Yeah,
and this is indicative of what you found. The water faucets, the top of the sink, the top of the toilet could have been okay. I don't know. You didn't show me pictures of that, but what is below the knees, people don't go down there and do. And then they complain that the odors in the bathroom stinks because this is where it's at, folks.
Right.
This is just underneath the sink.
So, Mike, if that school you said was 17 years old, I mean, is there staffing issues at that school?
No.
So they're fully staffed? And
Yeah. But, the one thing is it's really hard to get people, either you care or you don't care. I call some people the 8s and hit the gates. But in these folks' defense, one of the employees is newer and the other one had been there for 7 years. And, I told that person, I said, look, you haven't had the right mentor because obviously this person didn't care. I'm going to teach you how to care and how to maintain this stuff. If you just keep up with this stuff, you never have to deal with this. You should never have to deal with this. But what he did is the previous person, he just slopped floor finish everywhere using a rayon mop. Maybe it could have even been a cotton mop for all I know. But I mean, he just slopped it everywhere. And it was that dirty, shiny floor syndrome is what that school had. And did a lot of on my hands and knees, scraping and scrubbing. But it makes a huge difference. The teachers come back and they said, it even smells different there. I feel clean, So Yeah.
Now, this school, Mike, is this an elementary school?
Yeah,
middle
it's
school?
elementary school.
Elementary school.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many kids?
I think there's about 480 kids.
And so we went through COVID era with all of this, but yet,
Yeah.
right. Because there's the smile. Yeah,
It
we
wasn't
talked about
touched.
this before.
So yeah. So this was something that got me the first week I was there. So if you see that one photo there with those poles and stuff, this was in May of this past year. And you see that red bucket there, or that red bag, in this particular state, it's ice melt. So you don't need ice melt in May. So that stuff had dust and film. That's where the kids go in and out of recess. Our parent volunteers go in and out of that. I mean, it's just disgusting. And that was the light fixture for the entryway. That's bugs, believe it or not. It's just powder now. It's a wonder it didn't catch on fire. And that was the day I almost made the art teacher cry, because he seen me cleaning that. He's like, "Oh my gosh, you're really going to clean that?" I got rid of all that crap. I said, that's an egress hazard right there. All that crap in it, in a foyer and stuff. So they were really thrilled. So this here, Bobby. So believe it or not, this is the front of the stage. So I'm sitting there and I just stop and I look at this and I think, if I'm a parent and I'm coming to see my kid's music program and I'm sitting there waiting for that curtain to open, and I'm thinking, number one, if you're trying to pass a levy based on filth alone, I'm voting no. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, because a lot of school districts have levies and stuff. So on the right there, you can see there's a hole there. They put duct tape. The other one, the outlet's missing an outlet cover. And then that last one there, and that's where the close-up, that's actually mouse doo-doo in that thing with trash and debris. And it's just disgusting. And I just took a little bit of elbow grease and a little bit of baseboard cleaner. Probably could have, I don't know if I could have done it with just a cleaner, because it was gunked on there again, splashing floor finish up on the baseboard. And the music teacher came back and she's like, "Did we get new baseboard there?" "No, we just cleaned it." Of course, I got all those things covered with appropriate plates, and they were just thrilled. So here I go into the gym floor. So when I got into the gym, the first step is not getting the tape and gum. It's getting up into a lift and cleaning all the disgusting vents and, the HVAC units and stuff like that. That's the first step. And I have a video. We didn't put it on this, but I got up there with a blower, a big leaf blower, and you could just see the dust. And then my team members were down below and they said, "It looks like it's snowing down here." So once I blew that out, of course, I cleaned that vent. And the problem is, when you let that go for 10 or 12 years, you can't blow that out anymore. You actually have to clean it, because now it's got like gunk on it and it don't just blow off. So it became 3 times as hard as it should be. So now I can just blow that out once a year and be good to go. Take me a second versus probably 5 minutes of messing with that vent. So there it is. There's what it looked like when I blew all that stuff out. The gym teacher was leaving and he said to me, he goes, "Hey, could you do me a solid for the next gym teacher? Could you get that bean bag down from there?" Those are sound barriers, by the way, that blue thing. It's probably 15 feet, halfway up the gym. He said, "That's been there for 10 years. I'm like, "What?" So yeah, that's after I blew it out. And believe it or not, I didn't get it perfect. I just got it a lot better. I'm going to need a couple, summers of blowing that out to get it really, really clean, but it's way, way better. So those are some of the slides and some things I experienced. But to me, like I was saying to Dave, and I said earlier, if you want to be a rock star, you got to have that traits. You got to be into customer service. You've got to be able to talk to people, but you got to keep your building clean, for the love of God. You cannot have that kind of stuff.
And this is your third book, right, Mike?
This will be the fourth one.
Fourth book. So, and this book, is it going to be more about these experiences that you're having right now?
Talking clean in a dirty world. Talking clean in a dirty world. Dirty, 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 dirty world. Talking clean in a dirty world.